Namaste, one and all, and welcome. Welcome to this morning's Satsang. It is April 26th, and this is the start of our new week. I do hope and pray that whatever your reasoning or whatever you're feeling to come to Mandir this morning is fulfilled. We will start with Ajamil, page 2. I've got the most ancient Atmagit. And this bhajan is saying, let us all come together to sing and express our thanks unto the Lord, whose glory and fame all noble and pious men and women continually sing. In temples and caves and in the peaks of mountains, all the sages repeatedly express their gratitude. Perched on many a branch, the birds make merry in the forest. Together, in full voice, they hymn their thanks unto the Lord, thereby attaining to supreme happiness. In wells and in lakes and in the great depths of rivers, the aquatic creatures sing their praises and thanks in deep satisfaction. For this reason, we, men and women of the world, should, in weddings, fairs, and religious congregations, express our gratitude to the Lord with our sweetly intoned voices. आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद जिसका यश नित गाते हैं गण दर्व गुणी जन धन्यवाद मंदिरों में कंदरों में पर्वतों के शिखर पर मंदिरों में कंदरों में पर्वतों के शिखर पर देते हैं लगातार सौ बार मुनिवर धन्यवाद आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद करते हैं जंगल में मंगल आशिकन हर शाख पर करते हैं जंगल में मंगल आशिकन हर शाख पर पाते हैं आनंद मिलता ये है स्वर भर धन्यवाद आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद धार में प्रेम रस में तृप्त होकर ते है जल चर धन्यवाद आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। जलसयों में यज्ञ और उत्सव किया। शादियों में जलसयों में यज्ञ और उत्सव किया। मीठे स्वर से चाहिए करे नारी नर सब धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। गान करे चंद भजना नंद ईश्वर की स्तुति। गान करे चंद भजना नंद ईश्वर की स्तुति। ध्यान धर सुनते हैं श्रोता कान धर धर धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। जिसका यश नित गाते हैं गंधर्व गुणी जन धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। Thank you, Bhen Sushila, and our dear daughter Charlotte, and on tabla, Annabelle. Thank you all for putting us into this spiritual frame of mind as we sit to begin Havan today. As we offer any ahuti, let us keep in mind that this past Wednesday, April 22nd, it was observed as International Earth Day. And the offerings that we'll be making into this kun today, let us dedicate those offerings to the earth, without which we would not be in existence today. So we ask that everything we do, let us be cognizant of how we treat the earth. Not only, and the earth does not mean just that the plants grow on, but everything that we contribute in the way we behave, in not only to ourselves, but to others. So today's Havan Yajna is dedicated to Dhartima. And I'm going to ask Bhen Sushila to, before that, Pandit Neeraj is going to do the Sankalpa for us, and then Bhen Sushila is going to lead us in Havan.
Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Gavinamupamastravasthamam Jeshthadajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatana Shrinvannotibhissidha sadhanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajini Evati Dinama Vitryavatu Om Tat Satadhya Shri Brahmano Dvitiye Praharadhe Saptame Vaivasvate Manvandare Ashtavinchati Kaliyuge Kaliprathama Charane Dvisasti Trayashititam Vikrami Samvat Uttarayane Vasant Ritau Shukla Pakshe Vaishika Mase Ekadashi Tithau Ravivar Divase Magha Nakshatre Mithuna Lagane Shubh Mahorate अमेरिका देशान्तर्गते न्यूयार्क प्रान्ते क्वीन्स जनपदे ब्रायवुड नगरे आर्य स्पिरिचुअल सेंटर आर्य समाज मंदिरम स्थाने देवयज्ञ कर्म करनाय दयानंद गोत्रोत्पन्नस्य श्रीमतः भवन्तं पुरोहितं वृणे।
अथ अंगस्पर्श। अथ आचमन. As we take water into our palm, we're saying, O Lord, the indestructible and protector of all, save us from pains and sorrows, just like a sheep protects us from below. Om Amrito Pastardanamasi Swaha. O Lord, the indestructible and protector of all, save us from pains and sorrows from above. Om Amrita Pidhanamasi Swaha. O Lord, the protector of all, be gracious to us so that our lives may be filled with truth, fame, fortune, and prosperity. Om Satyam Yashah Shrirmai Shriyashrayatam Swaha. Atha Angasparsh. Taking water into our left palm, using our 2 ring fingers and touching various parts of our bodies. We are saying to keep our limbs strong, so we may carry out virtuous deeds. Om Vangmeyasyastu. Om Nasur me pranoastu. Om Akshur me chakshuastu. Om Karnayor me Shrotamastu. Om Bahur me Balamastu. Om Urvorma Ojoastu. Om Arishtani Mengani Tanustanva me Saha Santu. Atha Ishwar Stuti Prarthana Upasana. O radiant divinity, cause of all manifestations in the universe, remove all impurities from us and endow us with all that is noble. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasuva Yadhadran Tanyasuva. Om Hiranyagarbha Samavartatagre Bhutasya Jataha Patirekayasi Sadadhar Prithivim Dyamutema Tasmai Devaya Havisha Vidhema. Om Ya Atmada Balada Yasya Vishwa Upasate Prashisham Yasya Devaha Yasya Chayamritam Yasya Mrityuh Tasmai Devaya Havisha Vidhema. Om Ya Pranato Nimishato Mahitvaika Idraja Jagato Babhuva
य ईशे अस्य द्विपदश्चतुष्पदः कस्मै देवाय हविषा विधेम
ॐ
येन द्यौरुग्रा पृथिवी चादृधा येन स्वस्तभितं येन नागाः यो अन्तरिक्षे रजसो विमानः तस्मै देवाय हविषा विधेम ॐ प्रजापते न त्वरेतान्यन्यो विश्वा जातानि परिता बभूव यत्कामस्ते जुहुमस्तनो वस्तु वयं स्याम पतयोरयीर्णाम्
ॐ
स नो बन्धुर्जनिता सा विधाता धामानि वेदभुवनानि विश्वा यत्र देवा अमृतमानशानास्तृतीये धामन्यध्यरयन्ता
ॐ
अग्नेर्नया सुखधाराय अस्मान् विश्वानि देववयुनानि विद्वान् युयोजस्मज्जुहुराणमेनो भूयिष्ठान्तिं नमौतिं विधेम
हे सकल जगत के उत्पत्ति
कर्ता
करता
समग्र
समग्र
ऐश्वर्य
शुद्ध
शुद्ध
स्वरूप
स्वरूप
सर्व सुखों के दाता परमेश्वर आप कृपा करके हमारे संपूर्ण दुर्गुण दुर्व्यसन और दुखों को दूर कीजिए जो कल्याणकारक गुण कर्म स्वभाव वाले पदार्थ है वे सब हमको प्राप्त कराइए। अथ स्वस्ति वाचनम prayers for bliss and prosperity. Om Agnimire
पुरोहितं यजस्य देवमृद्विजं होतारं रत्नधातमम् ॐ स नः पितेव सूनवे सुपायनो भव स च स्वानः स्वस्तये ॐ स्वस्ति नो मिमितामश्विना भगः स्वस्ति देव्यारितिर्नर्वणः स्वस्ति पूषा असुरो दधातु नः स्वस्ति द्यावा
पृथिवी सुचेतुना ॐ
स्वस्तये वायुपुरभावमहे सोमं स्वस्ति भुवनस्य यस्पतिः बृहस्पतिं सर्वगणं स्वस्तये स्वस्ति आदित्यासो भवन्तु नः
ॐ विश्वे देवानो अद्य स्वस्तये
वैश्वानरो वसुरग्निः स्वस्तये देवावन्तवृभवा स्वस्तये स्वस्ति नो रुद्राः पात्वं हसः ॐ स्वस्ति मित्रा वरुणा स्वस्ति पत्येरेवती स्वस्ति न इन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च स्वस्ति नो अदिते कृधि
ॐ
स्वस्ति पन्थामनुचरेम सूर्यचन्द्रमसा विव पुनर्दथाग्नथा जानथा संगमे महि
May we accept our responsibilities and duties just as the sun and moon unswervingly revolve in their orbits. May we associate with those who are learned, pious, and charitable, and nonviolent. Iti Sankshepatāh Swasti Vachanam.
अथ शान्तिकरणम् ॐ शन्न इन्द्राग्नि भवतामवोभिः शन्न इन्द्रावरुणारातहव्या शमिन्द्रा सोमा सुविता यशंयो शन्न इन्द्रा पूषणा वाजसातौ ॐ शन्नो भगः शमुनः शंसो अस्तु शन्नः पुरन्धिः शमु सन्तुरायाः शन्नः सत्यस्य सुयमस्य शंसः शन्नो अर्यमा पुरुजातो अस्तु ॐ शन्नो धाता शमुधर्ता नो अस्तु शन्न उरुचि भवतु स्वदाभिः शन्रोदसे बृहति शन्नो अदृशन्नो देवानां सुहवानि सन्तु ॐ शन्नो अग्निर्ज्योतिरनीको अस्तु शन्नो मित्रावरुणा विश्विनाशम् शन्नः सुकृतां सुकृतानि सन्तु शन्न इशिरो अभिवातु वातः ॐ शन्नो द्यावा पृथिवी पूर्वहूतौ शमन्तरिक्षं दृशयेनो अस्तु शन्न ओषधीर्वनिनो भवन्तु शन्नो रजसस्पतिरस्तु जिष्णुः ॐ शन्न इन्द्रो वसुभिर्देवो अस्तु शमा आदित्येभिर्वरुणः सुशंसाः शन्नो रुद्रो रुद्रेभिर्जला शन्नस्त्वष्टाग्नाभिरिह शृणोतु ॐ शन्नः सोमो भवतु ब्रह्म शन्नः शन्नो ग्रावा नः शमु सन्तु यज्ञाः शन्नः स्वरूणामितयो भवन्तु शन्नः प्रस्वा अश्शं वस्तु वेदिः अथ शिवसङ्कल्पमन्त्र ॐ यज्जाग्रतो दूरमुदैति दैवं तदु सुप्तस्य तथैवैति दूरङ्गमं ज्योतिषां ज्योतिरेकं तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ येन कर्माण्यपसो मनीषिणो यज्ञे कृण्वन्ति विदथेषु धीराः यदपूर्वं यक्षमन्तः प्रजानां तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ यत्प्रज्ञानमुतचेतो धृतिश्च यज्ज्योतिरन्तरमृतं प्रजासु यस्मानर्ते किञ्चन कर्म क्रियते तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ येनेदं भूतं भुवनं भविष्यत् परिगृहीतममृतेन सर्वं येन यज्ञस्तायते सप्तहोता तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ यस्मिन् ऋचः सामयजोगुंषि यस्मिन् प्रतिष्ठिता रथनाभाविवाराः यस्मिंश्चित्तं सर्वमोतं प्रजानां तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ सुषारथिरश्वानि वयन्मनुष्यान् नेनीयते भीषुभिर्वाजिन इव हृत्प्रतिष्ठं यदज्जविष्ठं तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु ॐ सनः पवस्व शङ्गवे शञ्जनाय शमर्वते शन्राजन्नोषधीभ्यः ॐ अभयं नः करत्यन्तरिक्षमभयं द्यावा पृथिवी उभे इमे अभयं पश्चादभयं पुरस्तादुत्तरादधरादभयं नो अस्तु ॐ अभयं मित्रादभयं ममित्रादभयं ज्ञातादभयं परोक्षात् अभयं नक्तमभयं दिवा नः सर्वा आशा मम मित्रं भवन्तु इति संक्षेपतः शान्तिकरणम्
ॐ शङ्गवे शञ्जनाय समर्वते शनराजनुषधीभ्यः ॐ अभयाकृत्यन्तरिक्षम् अभयं द्यावा पृथिव्युभयमि अभयं पश्चादभयं पुरस्तात् धृतराधरादभयं नोऽस्तु ॐ अभयं मित्रारभयममित्रात् अभयं जातारभयं परोक्षात् अभयं दत्तम् अभयं दिवाना सर्वाशा मम मित्रं भवन्तु सर्वाशा मम मित्रं भवन्तु.
Can we all stand for the kindling of the fire now?
ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वद्योरिवा भूम्ना पृथिवीवरिम्णा तस्यास्ते पृथिवी देवयजयि पृष्ठेऽग्निमन्नादमन्नाध्याया दधे ॐ उद्भुत्या स्वाग्नि प्रतिजागृहि त्वमिष्टापूर्ते संसृजे धामयन् च अस्मिन् सरहस्ते अध्युतरस्मिन् विश्वे देवा यजमानश्च सीदता अथ समिधा. So now we are going to take 3 pieces of sticks from the chandan or any fruit tree with any measurement of 8 fingers and place it in the molten ghee. Take each stick and place it in the kund with the following mantras. Om Ayantidma Atma Chat Vedastene Dhyasva Vardhasva Chedha Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idamagne Chat Vedase Idana Mama ॐ समिधाग्निं दुवस्यत घृते बोधयता तिथिम् अस्मिन् हव्याजहोतना
सुसमिधाय चोचिषे
घृतं तीव्रं जहोतना अग्नये जातवेरसे स्वाहा इरमग्नये जातवेरसे इरन्ना मम ॐ तन्त्वा समिद्भिरङ्गिरो घृतेन वर्धयामसि बृहश्चोच्छाय विश्वय स्वाहा इरमग्ने अंगिरसे इरन्ना मम. 5 ahuti. We are offering 5 oblations: 1 for noble children, 2 for righteous wealth, 3 for knowledge, the 4th for radiant character, and the 5th and final one is for food and other necessities of life. May they all be blessed. Om Ayantayadmatma Jat Vedastene Dhaswavardhasvached Havardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samidhaya Swaha Iramagne Jatavedase Iranna Mama Om Ayantayatma Jat Vedhastene Dhaswavardhasvached Havardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samidhaya Swaha Iramagne Jatavedase Iranna Mama Om Ayantayatma Jatavedasene Bhyaswavardhasvached Havardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samidhaya Swaha Iramagne Jatavedase Iranna Mama Om Ayantayatma Jatavedasene Bhyaswavardhasvached Havardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samidhaya Swaha Iramagne Jatavedase Iranna Mama 5th and final time. Om Ayantayatma Jatavedasene Dhyaswavardhasvached Havardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashubhir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samidhaya Swaha Iramagne Jatavedase Iranna Mama. Jal recitation. So we are now sprinkling water in the eastern, western, and northern side of the Kund. Om Ariten Manyaswa Om Anumate Manyaswa Om Saraswatyan Manyaswa Om Deva Savita Prasuvayajam Patim Bhagaya Devyo Gandharvaha Ketapuhu Ketannaha Punatu Vachaspatir Vacham Naha Swaratu. Okay, now we're back to ghee offerings. The following mantras are for the southern, so you're going to pour on the northern side of the Kund, then the second one is for the southern, and then the last one is for the middle. Om Agnaye Swaha Iramagne Iranna Mama Om Somaya Swaha Iram Somaya Iranna Mama Om Prajapataye Swaha Iram Prajapataye Iranna Mama Om Indraya Swaha Iram Indraya Iranna Mama Om. We're offering ghee and samagri now. Om Suryo Jyotir Jyotih Suryaha Swaha Om Suryo Varcho Jyotir Varchaha Swaha Om Jyotih Suryaha Suryo Jyotih स्वाहा
ॐ सजुर्देवेन सवित्रा सजुरुषसेन्द्रवत्या जुषाणः सूर्यो वेतु स्वाहा।
सायंकाल ॐ अग्निर्ज्योतिर्ज्योतिरग्ने स्वाहा
ॐ अग्निर्वर्चो ज्योतिर्वर्चः स्वाहा।
This is a silent prayer. ॐ अग्निर्ज्योतिर्ज्योतिरग्निः
स्वाहा।
ॐ सजुर्देवेन सवित्रा सजुरात्रिञ्जवत्या जुषाणो अग्निर्वेतु स्वाहा ॐ भूरग्नये प्राणाय स्वाहा
इदमग्ने प्राणाय इदन्नः मम।
ॐ भूर्वायवे पानाय स्वाहा
इदं वायवे पानाय इदन्नः मम।
ॐ स्वरादित्याय व्यानाय स्वाहा
इदमादित्याय व्यानाय इदन्नः मम। ॐ भूर्भुवः
स्वरग्नि वायवादित्येभ्यः प्राणापानव्यानेभ्यः स्वाहा
इदमग्ने वायवादितेभ्यः प्राणापानव्यानेभ्यः इदन्नः मम।
ॐ आपो ज्योतिरसोमृतं ब्रह्मा भूर्भुवस्वरं स्वाहा ॐ यामेधां देवगणः पितरश्चोपासते तया मध्या मेधया अग्ने मेधाविनं कुरु स्वाहा ॐ विश्वानि देव सवितर्दुरितानि परासुव यद्भद्रन्तन्यासुव स्वाहा इदमग्नये
ॐ अग्ने नया सुपथाराय अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् योयोद्यस्मज्जुहुराणमेनो भूयिष्ठान्ते नम उक्तिं विधेम स्वाहा।
Pandit Neeraj to do the special mantras.
And Sushila, can you sit around the kund to make some offerings?
Today we are celebrating Behan Sushila's birthday, and we ask that, and if anyone else has a birthday, please come up on stage, and we'll do the garlanding after the Havan. What? After, yeah. You want to do it now? Or after now? But we asked that may you perform your duties as a mother, as a daughter, as a friend, as a member of society, as a member of Vedic Dharma. May you continue to be strong and healthy. We will start with Pavaman Ahuti, then Ashtajahuti, then birthday mantras. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Agna Ayum Shipavasa Suvorjamisham Chanaha Arebadhasva Duchunam Swaha Idamagne Pavamanaya Idannamama Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Agnirishiv Pavamanav Panchajanyav Purohitaha Tami Mahe Mahagayam Swaha Idamagne Pavamanaya Idannamama Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Agne Pavasvasvapa Asme Varchasuviryam Dadhadraim Mai Posham Swaha Idamagne Pavamanaya Idannamama Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Prajapate Natvadeta Nyanyo Vishwa Jata Niparita Babhuva Yatka Amaste Juhumastanno Astu Vayam Syamapatayorainam Swaha Idam Prajapate Idam Namama Om Tvanno Agne Varunasya Vidvan Devasya Helo Vayasi Sishtha Yajishto Vanhitamashho Chuchano Vishwadveshan Sipramumugdhyasmat Swaha Idamagni Varunabhyam Idannamama Om Bhavatana Samanasau Sacheta Savare Pasau Ma Yagyang Hing Sishtham Ma Yagnapatim Jatavedasau Shiva Bhavata Madhyana Swaha Idam Jatavedobhyam Idan Namama. And Ben Sushila, as I said before, we ask that God continue to give you long life and with great health. May you not have to beg for anything. May all of your mental and physical functions be at 100% for 100 years and more. Om Indra Jiva Surya Jiva Deva Jiva Jivyasam Sarvamayur Jivayasam Swaha Om Tatchakshur Devahitam Purasta Chukramucharat Pashyema Sharadashatam Jivema Sharadashatam Shrinuyama Sharadashatam Prabhavama Sharadashatam Adina Syama Sharadashatam Bhuyascha Sharadashatat Swaha Om Samasinjantu Marutas Samposha Sambrihaspatihi Sammayamagnis Sinchatu Prajaya cha dhanena cha Dhirgamayu krinotu me Swaha Om Suchaksha Aham Akshibhyam Bhuyasam Suvarcha Mukhena Sushrutah Karnabhyam Bhuyasam Swaha Om Medhame Varuno Dadatu Medhamagni Prajapatihi Medhamindrascha Vayuscha Medham Data Dadhatu Me Swaha. And as we, in the beginning of the Havan, we mentioned we were celebrating Earth Day as well, or we had celebrated on Wednesday. We will chant some mantras, acknowledging all of the devtas, all of the forces of nature, and thanking them for their help, and asking that we continue to perform our functions in a righteous way. These are also in the New Year mantras. I believe this is page 109, 108, 109 in the Vedic Aradhana. I'll do the second half of those mantras. O madhuvatarayate madhuksharanti sindhavah madhvirna santvoshathi swaha Om Ayur Yajjena Kalpatam Prano Yajjena Kalpatam Chakshur Yajjena Kalpatam Shrotram Yajjena Kalpatam Prishtham Yajjena Kalpatam Yajyo Yajnena Kalpatam Prajapativ Prajap Abhoma Swadeva Aganmamrita Abhoma Swaha Om Shanno Deva Vishwadeva Bhavantu Shan Saraswati Sahadhibhirastu Shamabhisha Chashamuratisha Chashanno Divya Parthivashamo Shanno Apya Swaha Om Madhunakta Mutoshaso Madhuparthivagn Rajaha Madhutyorastu Napita Swaha Om Abrahman Brahmano Brahmavarchasi Jayatamash Rashtre Rajanya Shura Ishavyo Divyadhi Maharatho Jayatam Dogdri Dhenurrodha Nadva Nashu Saptif Purandhiryosha Jishnuratheshthaha Sabheyo Yuvasya Yajamanasya Viro Jayatam Nikame Nikame Naf Parjanyo Varshatu Phalinvatyo na Oshadhayaf Pachyantay Yogak Shemo Nah Kalpatam Swaha. And at this time, we pray for those who may not be in the best of health right now. We ask that God grant them immortality through detachment. Om Trambakaya Jamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam ऊर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वाहा ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् ऊर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वाहा ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् ऊर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वाहा Om. This brings us to the end of special mantras. We will continue with the Havan. Om Agnaye Swaha Idam Agnaye Idam Namama Om Somaya Swaha Idam Somaya Idam Namama Om Prajapataye Swaha Idam Prajapataye Idam Namama Om Indraya Swaha Idam Indraya Idam Namama
Om Bhuragne Swaha Idamagneye Idanna Mama Om Bhurvayave Swaha Idam Vayave Idanna Mama Om Swarityaya Swaha Marityaya Idanna Mama Om Bhurbhuva Swaragni Vayavanitebhyah Swaha Idamagni Vayavanitebhyah Idanna Mama
Gayatri, Guru Gayatri or Savitri mantra. With clasped hands and closed eyes, we are saying, O Supreme Being, the cause of all manifestations in the universe, source of all existence, intelligence, and bliss. We meditate upon your adorable nature. May you illuminate and inspire our intellect. Okay, those of us who are sitting, making offerings, let's sit nicely and put our hands together.
Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Swaha Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Swaha Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Swaha Srishta Kritahuti Om Yadyasya Karmanotyariricam Yadvanyunamihakaram Agnishtat Shrishta Krit Vidyat Sarvam Shrishtam Sahutam Karotu Me Agnaye Shrishta Krite Sahutahute Sarva Prayaschitahutinam Kamanam Samardhayatre Sarvanaha Kaman Samardhaya Swaha Idamagne Shrishta Krite Idanna Mama
Agni, the all-knowing one, fully knows what is excessive or lacking in our performance of this sacrifice. May the fulfiller fulfill our sacrifice by harmonizing it with our intent and making it well performed. We beseech thee to make us successful in all that we desire. We address this prayer unto the Supreme One, who fulfills all offerings and makes them well performed, who accepts all confessions and repentance, and who grants success in all righteous wishes. All this is unto Agni, the fulfiller. Nothing is ours. Om
Swaha.
Idam
Prajapate Idanna Mama. Can we all stand for Purnahuti? Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. And we invite our participants to come up and make an offering. Mothers and sisters first. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. 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 Om Sarvam Ve
Purnam Swaha.
Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve
Purnam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Purnam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Purnam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Purnam Swaha.
Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Om Sarvam Ve Puranam Swaha. Atha Mukha Sparsha. Taking some ghee in our hands and rubbing it together, placing our palms against the fire and absorbing that energy and asking our body to be open to absorbing that energy that was created in the Kund today. Om Tanupagneyasi Tanvame Pahi. Om Ayurdagneyasi Ayurme Dehi. Om Varchodagnyasi Varcho Me Dehi. Om Agneyanme Tanva Unam Tanva Aprina. Om Medhame Deva Savita Adadhatu. Om Medhame Devi Saraswati Adadhatu. Om Medhame Ashwino Devavadhatam Pushkarasrajau.
Om
Vakshama
Apyayatam. Om Pranashama Apyayatam. Om Chakshushama Apyayatam. Om Shrotranchama Apyayatam. Om Yashobalam Shama Apyayatam.
This brings us to the end of this morning's Havan ceremony. We will now sing Ujjini Yash Prarthna Bhajan. पूजनीय प्रभु हमारे भाव उज्ज्वल कीजिए, छोड़ देवे चल कपट को मानसिक बल दीजिए वेर की गाये रचाए सत्य को धारण करे हर्ष में हो मगन सारे शोक सागर से तरे आश्वमेधादिक रचाए यज्ञ पर उपकार को धर्म मर्यादा सदा कर लाभ दे संसार को नित्य श्रद्धा भक्ति से यज आदि हम करते रहे रोग पीड़ित विश्व के संताप सब हरते रहे भावना मिट जाए मन से पाप अत्याचार की कामनाएं पूर्ण होवे यज्ञ से नर नार की लाभकारी हो हवन हर जीवधारी के लिए वायु जल सर्वत्र हो शुभ गंध को धारण किए स्वर्ग भाव मिटे हमारा प्रेम पथ विस्तार हो हिरण मम का सार्थक प्रत्येक में व्यवहार हो हाथ जोड़ झुकाए मस्तक हाथ जोड़ झुकाए मस्तक वंदना हम कर रहे नाथ करुणा रूप करुणा आपकी सब पर रहे प्रभु आपकी सब पर रहे प्रभु आपकी सब पर रहे
ओ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ईश सब सुखी हो
कोई न हो दुखारी सब हो निरोग भगवन धन ध्यान के बधारी सब भाद्र भाव देखे सन्मार्ग के पथिक हो दुखिया न कोई होवे सृष्टि में प्राण धारी सृष्टि में प्राण धारी सृष्टि में प्राण धारी
O God, may all be happy, may all be free from misery, may all realize goodness, and may no one suffer pain. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi.
May Behen Sushila please come and stand in front of the stage as we do the garlanding. May we all stand as well, please. ॐ स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः बार बार दिन ये आए बार बार दिल ये गाए बार बार दिन ये आए बार बार दिल ये गाए तू जिए हजारों साल ये मेरी है आरज़ू. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Behan Sushila. Happy birthday to you. बेकरार हो के दामन थाम लूं मैं किसका. बेकरार हो के दामन थाम लूं मैं किसका. क्या मिसाल दूं मैं तेरी नाम लूं मैं किसका. नहीं नहीं ऐसा हंसी कोई नहीं है जिस पे ये नजर रुक जाए. बेमिसाल जो कहलाए तू जिए हजारों सा ये मेरी है आरज़ू. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Behan Sushila. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Panit Niraji, and we can take our seats. Namaste, all. Whether you're joining us here in Mandir today, and thank you all those of you that are here today with us in Mandir, thank you for joining us physically. If you're joining us on social media or whatever platform you're joining us from, we welcome you to today's satsang. As we made offerings for Mother Earth, on this past Wednesday, we observed International Earth Day. And this is a really good thing that that was started. It was started by the United States because of the environmental situation of the Earth. So, as humans and as the one main user of the Earth, it is our responsibility to do whatever we can to take care of the Earth. This means being mindful of littering, being mindful of maintaining the plant life and the animal kingdom, and doing whatever it is, being mindful of each other, how we treat each other as well, so that we are able to maintain this earth. So keep that in mind as you move forward, not only for this week, but from here on. Do whatever you can to take care of this earth. Remember, this is what sustains all of us. And with that, I am going to ask Bhai Sohanji to do our first item for today. Thank you, Bhai Sohan, for joining us. And after that, I will ask Panit Neeraj to do a bhajan for us. Bhai Sohan, you have a lot of offers today for tabla players. We're so fortunate that we have so many of them, including our daughter, Annabelle, because Charlotte is the one that I always call on, and she gets to Annabelle. So Charlotte's name is in my head constantly.
Namaste, everybody. So I'm very happy to see so many people this morning at Mandir. You know, there's an instinct, and I wouldn't say it's a natural instinct, but sometimes there's an instinct that when there's weather that's not too favorable, we get up in the morning and honestly we ask ourselves a question: should I go to Mandir today? It's not too nice. Downstairs might be flooded. There mightn't be too many people, and these are some questions we ask ourselves. But it's good that we're here this morning to join in satsang and also to celebrate our sisters, our daughter's birthday. And so this bhajan, Prabhuji Sunalo, the very first verse said, O Prabhu, O Lord, listen to our call and grant us knowledge that we need to succeed in life. And the last verse, O Lord, remove jealousy, hate, and false pride from our hearts, and grant us the gift of truth, nonviolence, and peace. It's in page 223 of Atmagit. प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ध्यान तू ही है सबका भगवान प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ज्ञान तू ही है सबका भगवान प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ज्ञान तू ही है सबका भगवान अजर अमर तो सर्वनिधान सब में व्यापे एक समान अजर अमर तो सर्वनिधान सब में व्यापे एक समान सारा जग तेरी संतान तू ही है सबका भगवान प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ज्ञान तू ही है सबका भगवान संतानों पर विपत महान रात अंधेरे अरु अजान संतानों पर विपत महान रात अंधेरे अरु अजान प्रभु अब होवे सुखद बिहार तू ही है सबका भगवान प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ज्ञान तू ही है सबका भगवान ईशा द्वे शमिताय अभिमान सत्य हिंसा शांति कदान ईशा द्वे शमिताय अभिमान सत्य हिंसा शांति कदान सबका सब विरहो कल्याण तू ही है सबका भगवान प्रभु जी सुन लो दे दो ज्ञान तू ही है सबका भगवान तू ही है सबका भगवान तू ही है सबका भगवान
Thank you, Bhai Sohanji. And Bhai Sohan gave the translation for one of the verses. But the second verse says that you are beyond decay and death. You provide fundamental support to everyone because you pervade everyone alike. Everyone is your child. So God works through us. Bhai Sohan had said when he was the president, he said, I will always support the Mahila. And Bhai Sohan, I thank you. We held you to that. And I thank you for keeping your word because even though you did not respond to my text, you showed up. And I thank you for always being that support for the Mahila because, we work together. Even though it's the Mahila presenting on this day, we work together. And I want you to know how much your support means to the Mahila. So thank you very much. And now we're going to have another supporter, Pandit Neeraj, and he is going to give his contribution for today.
Namaste once again, everyone. Be singing He Jagat Pita Bhagavan on page 103 in the Atma Geet. हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा बचपन में होशन आया है जीवन में पाप कमाया है बचपन में होशन आया है जीवन में पाप कमाया है अब जाओ कहा विषयों ने मुझको मारा अब जाओ कहा विषयों ने मुझको मारा दुनिया में एक सहारा हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा पापों से भगवन हमें बचा वेदों का सच्चा भक्त बना पापों से भगवन हमें बचा वेदों का सच्चा भक्त बना पाखंड झूठ से सब ही करे किनारा दुनिया में एक सहारा हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा मझधार में है बेरा मेरा कृपा कर आश्रय है तेरा मझधार में है बेरा मेरा कृपा कर आश्रय है तेरा नंदलाल पाप में बीता जीवन सारा नंदलाल पाप में बीता जीवन सारा दुनिया में एक सहारा हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा हे जगत पिता भगवान हमें दो ज्ञान तू ईश्वर प्यारा दुनिया में एक सहारा दुनिया में एक सहारा दुनिया में एक सहारा
Thank you very much, Pandit Neeraj. And it seems like you and Bhai Sohan coordinated. Because the first of that says, "O God, Father of the universe, give me knowledge. You are my loving Lord, my sole support." And yes, we know this, and we are thankful for everything that has been provided for us. How do we show thanks to God? Saying thank you, God, yeah, that's one way. Acknowledging what He's created for us, yes. But that's not tangible enough. What can we do as the sole utilizers of this earth to show thanks? Again, be mindful of how we use the earth, be mindful of what we do, and be very be very limited in the abuse. The resources that we use, the renewable resources, be mindful. The unrenewable resources that we utilize, let's be mindful of how we use those resources. And with that, I'm going to ask, and I'm actually putting Bhai Sagar on the spot because I just want to ask him to, give a little, whatever we had our program on Friday night. We observed Sita Jayanti. And I just wanted Bhai Sagar ji to give his input on whatever is going on in the Samaj at this point, and just to give his encouragement and his overall input.
Thank you very much, Panita Nirvani, and namaste, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come up here and see so many of you here today. I'm sorry. To see so many of you here today in Mandir, in person. All of those who are watching online, we welcome all of you who are watching online, and we want to do a special welcome for all of you who are here today. As you know, as you heard, we celebrate the Sita Jayanti on Friday. It was a wonderful program. And as you know, Mataji Sita embodies all we know about who we are as females, who are as a mother, as a grandmother, as a daughter, as a child, as a sister. She embodied everything in life about who she was and how she enlightened the traditions of Hindu Dharma. And that was something I understand. I was not here, and I have to apologize for not coming on Friday. I had an emergency which kept me up until 9, 10 o'clock at work on Friday night. But I understand the program was wonderful. It carried true to what the meaning of what we really wanted to convey. In addition to celebrating Mataji Sita's Jayanti, I just want to highlight another birthday. On the wall of this mandir, we have Pandit Gurudat Vidyarthi. Today is his birthday. April 26th is his birthday. He was a dynamic Arya Samaj leader. And he lived only 24 years. And what he contributed in his 24 years was unbelievable. He managed to write one book. If you can get your hands on that book, it was profound. If he had lived a full life, Arya Samaj today would have been at a different level, at a very, very, very different level. So today I pay homage to that late Pandit Gurudat Vidyarthi. When we bought this mandir, and when we talked about who should adorn the pictures that should adorn the walls of this mandir, his name was prominent as one of the people, and we had to look all over to get a picture so we can get it, so we can put it in the walls of this mandir. So once again, I pay him a homage to him. Also, I just want to thank everyone for coming today. Thank you for gracing us for this special yashina today. Thank you, and namaste.
Thank you, Bhai Sagarji. I wanted you to mention that birthday because, as you said, it's a special birthday, and today is that date. So I asked you to do that. So I thank you for doing that. And while we're getting prepared, in lieu of a pravachan today, we're going to be doing a presentation on health. And I have asked Dr. Savi to do that presentation for us today. But while she's getting set up for that, while we're getting technically set up for that, I am just going to do the few announcements that we have. As you know, our weekly Sunday Satsang starts at 9 a.m. We do encourage you to join us, whether you're joining us here in person or you're joining us virtually, you know, a lot of us put aside this time every Sunday. We try to come here, but just in case we can't, we make it a point to follow on social media, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, because this has become, this time of the week has become a part of our life. So some of us do set aside that time. And I encourage you to continue to do that, because the what you get from this 2.5 hours every week, it's irreplaceable. So I encourage you to still set aside that time. And I invite you to join us. The weather is going to start improving. Please join us in person. We do have our Panditas program that continue every Wednesday evening starting at 8 through 9:30 p.m. Please, it's a very it's a very informative program. We have a number of different sessions. It's not just about learning the Hindi, learning the mantras, but we've had a variety of program, and we just finished up our program on counseling. And I have to tell you, it's a very diverse program in terms of the material that we're being taught. And I encourage you, if this is something that you see yourself being a part of or wanting to be a part of the Pandits or Pandita program, please join that program. On Thursday evenings, Pandit Deepak Ji, he continues his satsang class. That again is something that imparts invaluable knowledge. So I encourage you to join those programs. Or Zoom link is on the ASC Parivar program, so I encourage you to join that. Or Bal Vikas class has been continuing every Friday nights via Zoom. And then we do have in person every other Sunday here in Mandir, where the children, they learn the instruments, they learn to sing. And we are going to be having the commencement program for that class on May the 31st, starting at 9 a.m. I encourage you, even if you don't have a child attending that class or regular participants in the Mandir, please come join that program and encourage our children, because when they see numbers, they're encouraged. So I ask you to join that program on the 31st. At this time, I am going to invite our speaker for today. And it's not a pravachan, but I will invite Dr. Savi Singh to the microphone. Dr. Savi Singh is an internal medicine physician, and she grew up here within the Arya Spiritual Center. Not only she grew up in an Arya Samaj background, not only here, but back in Guyana as well. She went to Brooklyn Tech High School and graduated from SUNY Stony Brook in 2001 with her BS in biochemistry and a minor in South Asian studies. She went to medical school, St. George's University in Grenada, and graduated in 2000. I'll say that again. She went to the University, St. George's University in Grenada in 2002 and graduated in 2006. She completed her internal medicine residency in 2010 from Nassau University Medical Center in East Meadows. After her original program at Mary Immaculate Hospital and St. John's Hospitals closed in 2007. She went on to a year of medical research in Downstate Medical Center and Kings County Hospital. Dr. Savi Singh has since worked in inpatient and outpatient, acute and subacute care from 2011 to 2021 throughout all the major hospital systems in Long Island before officially transitioning to outpatient medicine only. She currently works as a primary care internist at her own practice in Babylon, Long Island. She's also a role model for our Viranganas. And now I invite Bahen Dr. Savi Singh to the microphone.
Namaste. Thank you. We're trying to still set me up on the laptop or the screen, so Neeraj is going to let us or give us the cue when he's ready. In the meantime, so it's not just any general health topic we're doing today. We're going to focus on diabetes since that seems to be something afflicting a lot of people. And I was requested to put together a little presentation and talk on diabetes. Our community, especially, is very much affected by this. But some of the major points is this is something and that's tied to habits, dietary lifestyle, sedentary lifestyles that starts from childhood. So if we are looking to make a change and prevent diabetes and all the bad outcomes associated with that, then it would make sense to start training our kids from now how to eat properly, how to get physical activity, and all that. Or it looks like we're going to get started. So I did put this together for like a somewhat academic audience plus the layperson. So hopefully everybody will be able to follow along. I just want to go through the basics, but also some of the pathology that leads up to this. I'm not sure how many of us are already familiar with diabetes or know someone with diabetes. I guess I could count on everybody to know someone. But in general, how many, can by a show of hands, how many of you actually know what your A1C is, just from your annual preventative screening? Good. Okay. So that's a number you want to track and you want to know what that means and what that translates to in terms of sugar numbers, okay? But it's not just about sugar. There's a lot of metabolic disturbances that are happening when this process starts up. So you've got to be educated and well aware of all the things and when to intervene once you start seeing those numbers climb or start approaching those ranges that are becoming, a threat to your health. Okay, so we are able to get our slides up. Okay. All right, so I'm going to look at the screen as well while I do this. All right, so like I said, we're going to discuss all the major points on diabetes. Hopefully we'll get most of this across. So the first thing to do, next slide, is to define what diabetes is. So most of you believe it's just an elevated sugar, and do you know what happens after that sugar gets high or elevated, and what's the definition of elevated sugars? I think most of us in layman's term think that that's all it's limited to. And you know that there's some damage that happens, but you don't know how it's happening and what you can do possibly to prevent it other than eat less sugar. But are we all aware of what constitutes sugar in the bloodstream? Are we all aware that carbohydrates, anything considered a carbohydrate, so starches, pretty much everything in our diet, rice, roti, bread, pasta, all the naans, anything sugary, chow mein. I don't know what else we're making at home, but when I look at the typical Guyanese meal or Caribbean meal, it's predominantly carbs, and that's not what they're advising you to do. There should be more vegetables on that plate, more protein, and less carbs, okay, and good fats. All right, so let's understand. So the objective of today's presentation will be to define diabetes, understand something called metabolic syndrome and how that ties into or leads up to diabetes. I'm going to explain the pathophysiology, complications, risk, and how to manage it. All right. All right, so what is type 2 diabetes? And we're focusing on type 2 because it seems like 90 to 95% of people are affected by this. Majority are type 2, as opposed to type 1. And the idea is, I think most of you think that at some point you're going to run out of insulin. However, in type 2 diabetes, it's not a lack of insulin. It's not that you're short or have less insulin. In fact, you have the opposite. You have elevated insulin levels. So that wouldn't be, that's contradictory to what we all think. The classic type 1 diabetic is somebody who is either from very young or just from birth or soon in their earlier age, by the first or second decade, develop a shortage of insulin due to dysfunction of the cells that make it. And that comes from a gland called your pancreas, specifically the beta islet cells. So for some reason, whether it's a genetic issue or something that led to this autoimmune those people early on in life develop no production of insulin. So they're short on insulin. The only fix for them really is to replace what's missing, and that's to give the insulin. The type 2s are more of the people, and that's 90 to 95% of diabetics. They cause this to themselves. We cause it to ourselves for the most part. There is a strong genetic component, but it doesn't have to progress to that if you eat well, exercise, and do all the things to prevent it from bringing itself out. So the type 2s, contrary to like we thought, they have high insulin levels. And so when you're getting your diabetes check or annual prevention screening, an A1C is now the standard guideline for checking and ruling out or ruling in diabetes, prediabetes. You want to know what that A1C is doing as well as your insulin level. That's where you're going to know if you have insulin resistance, which is high insulin. And why is that? The insulin goes high because what's happening is your body's sensing all the organs that are supposed to take up sugar are not taking it up properly from the bloodstream. So you're eating a load of carbs, it converts to sugar, and then it starts floating around in your bloodstream, and it's causing inflammation and damage to everywhere. Everywhere there's a blood vessel delivering that sugar, there's damage. The minute that sugar crosses 100, there's inflammation happening. The body puts into a whole process, an inflammatory cascade. And so it's causing damage. It's the side effect of inflammation that causes that long-term damage. So you need to start looking to see, before that A1C changes and converts to a 5.7, which is defined as prediabetes here, 5.7 to 6.4. Those sugars, those average fasting sugars are elevated, I guarantee you. That the minute you start seeing higher than 100 consistently on your fasting sugar, that's a state of impaired glucose tolerance. So you want to start acting before that A1C or before your doctor says, oh, you're pre-diabetic. You don't want to wait till you're fully in the pre-diabetes mode or even diabetes. I know a lot of us wait till that A1C hits 6.5 and then they'll act on it and they get worried that, oh, I'm diabetic. But these changes are happening before. Now, all the things that contribute to this. So for one, it's the diet mainly. What that high carb diet is doing to you is causing a buildup of, it converts. So any extra calories you take in obviously has to get stored somewhere. And how does your body store it? As fats. But before, there's a little process before that fat storage kicks in, where your body's going to make triglycerides. So when you take a look at your lipid panel and you go for your annual cholesterol check or however often you get your cholesterol check, you need to pay attention to your triglycerides. When those triglycerides are high or elevated, and you can swear that it's not due to your extra carb load and carb intake and how badly or poorly you're eating, then you have to look to see if there's insulin resistance, elevated insulin levels, and that's a sign that prediabetes is about to kick in and impaired fasting sugar. Those carbs and sugars, all excess carbs and sugars are first going to convert to something called triglycerides, and that's reported on your cholesterol panel. After that, they will then convert to the bad cholesterols and all the stuff you're familiar with. And I have a slide later. I'm going to show you what the required numbers are. So the diabetes and the cholesterol is all linked together. That's the takeaway point from that. So if you eat extra carbs and you think, oh, I'm not eating red meat or high fat food, I'm okay. My cholesterol will be okay. I'm not going to suffer heart disease. So that's not the case at all. In fact, now diabetes is defined as heart disease. The minute you get a diagnosis of diabetes, they put you on a cholesterol pill as well, for that same thing I just explained, for that same reason, to lower the lipids. And those lipids are being fed by the carbs you're eating and the sugars. So these are numbers that are super important for everybody. So I don't know how many of us are doing at least our once a year preventative visit, but these are all numbers that are mandatory on that visit, not just your screenings, mammo, pap, colonoscopy, ophthalmology, cardiology. You should be asking, and you should be asking for an explanation on what these things are doing if you don't understand it. Okay. If you get diagnosed with some chronic condition, then your job is to make it to your doctor at least every 3 months. That's 4 visits a year. Your insurance will allow you to get your A1C checked at least every 3 months. The reason the A1C is accurate for up to every 3 months is every red cell. So, what that is defined as, it's the average blood sugar sitting on that red cell and attached to your red blood cell over the span of the red blood cell's lifetime. And a red blood cell lives for 120 days. So if you capture the average right the month before they die off and start becoming small and they die off, you get a good sense of what your sugars are doing. But that A1C is reflective of your sugars over the last few weeks more accurately rather than the whole entire 3 month. Okay, so you need to know that as well. So what's the diagnostic criteria for diabetes? We can go to the next slide. Okay, so fasting. So when you do your fasting sugar, most of us, we get worked up if we see higher than 100, which is right. However, the diagnosis for actual diabetes starts at 126 and higher fasting, or an A1C greater than 6.5. They also do something called a glucose tolerance test. This is usually done in pregnant people. So if they come back, they get a 75-gram glucose challenge. They give them something very sweet and sugary with 75 grams of sugar, and then they test their sugar 2 hours later. If it's still above 200, that's a problem. That's impaired glucose tolerance and diabetes. All right. So if you have a random sugar as well, let's say you can't get to the lab and fasting, but if your random sugar check is more than 200 and you have symptoms, that's also a way to suspect or rule in diabetes. Let's go to the slide with the A1C chart. So we kind of already explained this a little bit. So as you see here, they'll tell you that anything less than 5.7 on your hemoglobin A1C is considered normal. But look at that sugar that goes with it. That means your sugar could be running 117 and less. That's on average. And just so you know, this number takes the average of not just your fasting numbers, it's also your post-meal numbers, your postprandial numbers, we call that. So 2 hours after you're done eating, that sugar needs to come down to less than 180. And if you're maintaining more than 180 after a meal, either you ate too much carbs in that meal and now your body can't handle it, and your average sugar is going to stay elevated. So you may have great looking fasting sugars and glucose when you do your blood work and you fast and you go to the lab and get it drawn, but your A1C is still elevated and you're wondering why. It's because of those post meal numbers. They're driving up that average to a higher number. All right. So as you see, 5.7 to 6.4 is defined as pre-diabetic, and anything here it says 6.5. But once you hit 6.5 and higher, it's diabetes, and then they have a whole worsening cascade that happens as the sugar gets worse. I think we can go to the next one. Okay, so what do we define? What is metabolic syndrome? I'm not sure that term's been around for quite some time now, so we all need to be familiar with it. Certain ethnicities and ethnic groups are particularly prone to this, and our ethnicity, Southeast Asian descent, is one of them. So African Americans as well. Anybody with central obesity. So when we're talking central obesity, we mean belly fat, okay? A waist circumference more than 35 in women, 35 inches, and more than 40 inches in men qualifies as central obesity. And then the risk factors for heart disease and all this stuff goes right up, okay? High triglycerides, we already explained how that ties into all of this, but that's one of the criteria for being diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. So any three of these gets you into that syndrome. Once you have this syndrome, this is a very strong risk predictor for for the end game to turn into coronary artery disease, diabetes, all the bad things you can think of, kidney failure, vision loss, all that. So if you start seeing one or even two, don't wait for three of these to go wrong. Low HDL, so that's your good cholesterol. So the other thing you need to pay attention to when you get your cholesterol panel is your HDL, high density lipoprotein. That needs to be 50 and higher to protect you. If it drops below 40, it becomes an added risk factor for heart disease. So your job is not only to maintain good low bad cholesterol, it's also to maintain good high cholesterol. That's the only one you want high. The higher this thing goes, the more benefits you get out of it. It protects you. It goes around. It's like a scavenger for bad cholesterol. So it's going to go and eat up some of that bad cholesterol. If you have 50 and higher, it almost negates one other risk factor for you. Okay. And there's a whole way we work out who gets to be on a cholesterol and their risk factors and all that stuff. There's a whole math to all of that. So all these things that contribute metabolic syndrome, we said, so that central obesity is one, high triglycerides, low HDL, high blood pressure, and fasting glucose that's elevated. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we're probably going to go through this quickly, but this is the pathology that leads to all of this. Either you have insulin resistance, and the insulin resistance really, why are we making extra insulin? High sugars are floating around and your body can't take up that sugar. So your pancreas, the gland that makes and produces the insulin, thinks, oh, it's a feedback loop. So the higher the sugars go, the pancreas puts out more and more insulin. And in the long run, what it's going to lead to, the gland is going to burn out. It's going to get fed up and say, I'm tired, I'm not doing it anymore. And then it's going to shut off and it's going to totally stop. And then those people, once they run out of insulin, then they become type 1 diabetics. Then the only fix for them is to replace the insulin that's now missing, totally missing. While you still have insulin and even high ones, your job is to lower those high levels by limiting your carb intake and exercise. So a little thing about exercise. When you exercise, your muscle cells will suck up sugar immediately without the need for insulin into those muscle cells because those muscles are working out and exercise. It's a high level of energy that's needed to maintain that level of physical activity. And you want as much exercise as you get. That's the best way you can control sugars, exercise. And for criteria for what meets, exercise for the week, it's at least 2.5 hours worth of exercise in 1 week. So if you break it down about 5 days, 30 minutes, that gets you. And it has to be moderate level. You don't have to be out of breath, panting for breath and sprinting. It's moderate level of activity, which could be a fast-paced walk or just low-level running if you want. Just to keep that heart rate up. But the trick is you've got to keep the heart rate up for at least 30 minutes to get the benefits of this. If you add strength training, you get added benefits because your body will continue to burn energy and those muscles are hungry for sugar and for energy. So they're going to keep your metabolism up for way longer hours, even after you finish strength training. So the better bang for your buck is going to be strength training plus some cardio. All right, so you want to focus on that when you're trying to get exercise. We already talked about the pancreas dysfunctioning, whether it's high output of insulin or low output. There is also another thing that happens in a state of diabetes. Your sugar that's stored in that liver as glycogen is also getting broken down at a faster pace, and that would be contrary to what you would expect. Because the body is sensing, even though there's high sugars floating around, high insulin, and you can't utilize it, your body thinks it's in starvation mode. So it's going to start breaking down. First thing is sugars stored as glycogen in that liver, and then it's going to go break down your muscles. It's going to break muscle cells down and start using that for energy because it can't utilize those sugars. As high as they are and as much damage as they're doing and as much insulin as you have, it's unusable. So it's really, it's almost a relative state of low sugar, even though we're seeing the opposite clinically and in the lab work. All right. Now, this sets you up for chronic inflammation in every single organ. Like I said, everywhere blood is delivered in your body, expect inflammation. Once those sugar molecules are pretty large, they're going to set up inflammation. Okay. And that inflammation brings with it damage. All right. There's some active proteins in your belly fat. And when they say visceral fat, they mean that's the fat under the muscle and around the organs, the belly organs. It's not just the fat flapping over. That's subcutaneous fat. They do different things and they have different metabolic activity. The worst kind to have is the one with what we see as like in males and the beer belly, and that belly is projecting out and it's like a stiff belly. right? That's how you know somebody's got high visceral fat. But now we can calculate this. They have scales and everything selling on Amazon. You can figure out what your visceral fat percent is. The higher that is, the higher risk you are for this metabolic syndrome, diabetes, heart disease, and all the bad things. Okay, we can go to the next one. Okay, so we already touched on some of the complications, but just so we can go a little bit more in this. Number one cause for blindness in America, diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes, high sugars. The nerve damage and the neuropathy to the eyes, but all nerves in the body is getting damaged. Once those sugars go up and inflammation starts, you're damaging your kidneys, that's your nephropathy. And then, like we said, neuropathy is all nerve damage. The At a bigger level, what this leads to and has become equivalent to now is coronary artery disease and heart disease, strokes, as well as peripheral arterial disease. Peripheral arterial disease is damage to those blood vessels in the periphery, and you start having leg pain, cramping, weakness. All of this is vascular damage from the high sugars. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so like we said, first line of treatment for this is lifestyle changes. You have to change your diet, you have to exercise, and you have to lose that central fat, okay? They don't care if your fat's on your thighs and arms, it's the belly fat, okay? Next thing is, and I know a lot of people have all sorts of ideas about metformin and how damaging it is to your kidneys. That's not true. That's a myth. The metformin, you cannot take metformin if you have chronic kidney disease with a creatinine above 1.5. So if you've already damaged that kidney from high inflammation and high sugars, then you're not a candidate for metformin. But prior to that, you still have a lot of benefits to get from that metformin, and I'll explain how that works. But nowadays, you've probably heard of everybody getting those weight loss meds, Mounjaro, Ozempic, Zepbound, Wegovy. So those now are the next best line of treatment for diabetes type 2, not for type 1s. The type 1s have to only get insulin. These drugs are going to help fix the metabolic disturbances that lead to all this dysfunction and help you get those sugars under control. That's why they're top line treatments. SGLT2 inhibitors are things like Jardiance and Invokana. I can't remember all the names. I have a slide with that. But those also help you to manage blood sugar. They excrete sugar through your kidneys. So it's also another way we try to eliminate extra sugar from the bloodstream and from doing damage. If you have high blood pressure and cholesterol, they want it treated. The guideline says you must treat those hand in hand because those are also risk factors and lead to heart disease. So all these three things must be treated. You can't treat one and turn a blind eye to the others. It's not going to work. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is how metformin works for all of us with myths about how it works. All right, so it's going to stop that liver from making extra sugar and breaking down glycogen. So that's one way it's going to stop adding extra sugars to your bloodstream. It's going to help your tissues in the periphery use up sugar in a better way. So the fancy term for that is going to improve insulin resistance. So all these tissues around your body have receptors to take up and suck in sugar, but they're mediated by insulin. Okay, so that insulin has to go attach to that receptor and open up the gates for sugar to come into the cell. Those receptors, they've found some are working the way they're supposed to and the others aren't. So that's insulin resistance as well. That's the definition of it. So the receptors are dysfunctioning. The metformin is going to help you sensitize those receptors and get the tissues now to respond and take up the sugar that's floating around. So that's why the metformin is important. It's not going to squeeze any more insulin out of your pancreas and put out any more sugars from anywhere. It's going to just amplify the effects of the insulin you already have on board. So it's going to make you use your sugars in a better way. That's why it's the first line of treatment and it has to be on board first, especially in a classic type 2 with obesity, because the more obese we are, the higher the insulin receptors, the higher the dysfunction in those receptors. Okay. when metformin also has an effect on your gut, so it's going to help you absorb less sugars when you eat. So initially when you start it, you might sense some more frequent bowel movements and you might have to run to the bathroom a little bit extra, but eventually your body will get the hang of that and get used to it and it'll go back to normal. If you have persistent diarrhea or any GI symptoms from it, then they might opt out of it, but you're losing the benefits of a very great drug in doing that. So the rest of the stuff, recently we have evidence, and there's enough data coming out now saying that metformin is also an antioxidant and anti-aging for all of you that are interested in that. But it's antioxidant in this sense because it's helping to control some of that damage happening and the inflammation happening from high sugars. The other place you may see a big use of this is if females have something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, and insulin resistance is something that happens with that. And it's all tied into hormonal imbalance, and insulin being one of the major hormones that's also off in that syndrome. These people may suffer infertility, irregular cycles, all that stuff. By giving them metformin, we regulate their hormones, we fix their insulin resistance, we get them to lose a few pounds, and those hormones start lining back up the way they would naturally do, and the ovulation cycle kicks back in place, so they're able to achieve pregnancy just from metformin. So oftentimes the first line of treatment for infertility due to PCOS is also metformin. Next slide. Are we on time? Okay, so these are the Manjaros and the Ozempic. So you've probably heard the term GLP thrown around. So what you need to take away from this is they slow digestion. They help you feel full sooner, and they like shut down some of that appetite. You don't want total appetite suppression. You just want control over that appetite. So you want to get these meds dosed, and they're weekly, they're injectables. The oral ones, our experience has been they don't cause as much weight loss, but there might be newer stuff coming out now. In fact, the Wegovy people have one, but that they're claiming would cause you to lose as much weight. But the goal of these meds is to get those sugars under control, fix the insulin resistance, and cause weight loss as well. So they work at the gut level, all the major organs controlling sugar metabolism in your system, as well as your appetite center in the brain. The most common I like to prescribe is the Manjaro brand because it's a dual acting drug. It's not a plain GLP. We tend to see a little bit more nausea with like the Ozempic brand because that's semaglutide. That one, I don't know if it's got to do with the insulin activity of this drug, but this is dual acting. We see a little bit better weight loss with this. And both will also bring down that A1C pretty quickly. If you get on these things within 3 months, we expect a drastic improvement in your hemoglobin A1C. So they're top line, first line after metformin. All right. If you have any history or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, they're contraindicated. So you would have to know your family history as it relates to thyroid cancer. Any other thyroid cancer is fine except for that particular one. So most people qualify for this. That runs in a very rare syndrome we rarely ever see. Okay, next one. All right, these are your SGLT2 inhibitors. These are the drugs that I said, they help you excrete some of that extra sugar through your kidneys. Jardiance, Farxiga are probably the top two prescribed. Invokana and Steglatro used to be before these two came out. Side effect though, because you're putting out extra sugar in the urine and the kidney has to do that job, it's ending up in the urinary system. So if you don't hydrate well and cause yourself to go to the bathroom often enough, you will get recurrent UTIs and recurrent yeast infections. So anybody who's gotten more than 2-3 UTIs or yeast infections on them should stop it until they're able to amply hydrate. So hydration is key to preventing all of this. And if despite that, then you would have to get off the drug. They do have cardiovascular benefit. The heart doctors now will suggest you get on these even when there is no diabetes because they protect your heart and your kidneys. Just like one of those blood pressure pills we used to be familiar, probably lisinopril and enalapril, they're called ACE inhibitors. The equivalent of them are the ARBs. They're like losartan, telmisartan. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with those names, but as soon as there's diabetes, one of those drugs have to be on for the protection of your kidney and your heart. What they do is they prevent remodeling and scarring of those organs and dysfunction in the long run and failure. Okay, next one. Like I said, so these meds are now highly and strongly recommended. They're being pushed by protocol, American Heart Association, all the major associations want what there are definite fixed guidelines, and they update these things constantly based on the newest research. So the newest research says you have to be on this. You have to be on the metformin. If you have diabetes, you have to be on a statin as well. That's your atorvastatin, simvastatin, all the statin drugs. Whenever you take metformin, a side note is you must take vitamin B12 with it because it will utilize your B12 in a quicker way. And B12 deficiency itself can cause nerve damage and neuropathy. So you won't be able to tell the difference between whether it's high sugars causing the nerve damage versus a lack of B12. So anybody getting on metformin should obviously be on B12 supplementation as well. We can skip this now. I think we touched most of that already. All right, so this is how we, your body mass index. We can go to the next slide, Neeraj, and then we'll come back to this. So it's your weight in kilograms, so you have to take your pounds and divide by 2.2 over your height in meters squared. It's easier to just plug this into a formula online and figure out what your BMI is. Okay, you can go back previous. All right, so normal BMI, as you see, is defined as anything 18 and a half to 24.9. So you got to stay away from a BMI of 25. Now, this formula doesn't take into consideration how much muscle mass you might have, because the more muscle mass you have, the more it'll weigh, and so it'll add to your weight. So this is just assuming it's all fat weight, okay? So they want everybody between that 18 to 19 range and 24, almost 25. If you have extra muscle mass, you may push into the 26, 27 range. Anything over that would be considered overweight. The minute you cross a BMI of 30 to 35, that's obesity 1, and you see the risk starts going up, right? Waist circumference is linked to all of this. Your risk for cardiovascular disease goes up. Anything a BMI 40 and more is extremely high risk. So obesity in itself, because of all the metabolic dysfunction, all the thing it's going to cause you, is highly, highly associated with heart disease, stroke, even cancers. So our goal should be, like I said in the beginning, is how do you prevent obesity? It starts from teaching the kids now, from very young, what to eat, how to eat, when to eat. We shouldn't be snacking all day long. There's times for eating. Now there's a lot of info pushing for intermittent fasting and giving your metabolism a rest. Eat only a couple hours and then let the body do its thing and heal in the rest of hours. So all of that is with the hopes of helping to address the obesity pandemic that we have. It's an epidemic, especially in this country. And of course, these things are linked. The obesity leads to the diabetes, which is then heart disease and all the bad outcomes we know of. Kidney failure, stroke, dialysis, heart disease, heart failure. And like I said, a lot of cancers are also related to obesity. All right, we can go to the next one. I guess skip, next. Okay, so blood pressure, we're just quickly going to touch some of the numbers because I know this is a big thing and it is tied to the diabetes because it's also going to increase your risk for heart disease and strokes. So normal now, they just redefined and got new research out this year. They want you less than 120 and less than 80 on your bottom number. So your top number is called your systolic number. That's the pressure we're measuring as soon as that heart squirts that blood out and pushes that blood out. That's your systolic. That's during active pumping. Now, when that heart takes a break and as it's filling up, that's your resting pressure in the vessels, and we measure that. That's your resting bottom number. That number has to be less than 80. Most of us are pushing upper end 140, 90. Now, the bottom, you only have a 10-point range to work with, 80 to 90. So there's not much room there. You push above that 90, you're already at risk. If you, the top, you have like a 20-point range, 120 to 140. So your goal is through lifestyle change, even if you have a genetic predisposition, you have to start acting on this the minute you start, I would say at least in the mid 120s. And if you start getting in the mid 85, 86-ish and higher, those are all alarm numbers for me. And so I try to counsel people to start acting even when you see those numbers. Okay? Stage 1 hypertension starts at 130 to 139, as you see. And 80 to 89, the higher end, like probably 85 to 89-ish, will start acting on it. Stage 2 hypertension and obvious damage starts happening the minute you hit 140 and higher. So these are all the things you can do: lose weight, eat a healthy diet, and limit your salt intake. What salt is going to do is cause you to retain more water. This is a closed system. Your vascular system is a closed system. The only way to get rid of that is through your kidneys and urinating. So if you add more salt to your diet, what your kidney is going to signal is, let's hold on to all that water, and now it's going to increase the pressure in a closed system. What's going to happen? Pressure is going to go up, and you're going to have end organ damage. So brain's not going to function well, heart's not going to function well. Stress, you got to limit alcohol, you got to limit salt. Okay, next slide. I think we're almost done, so we're wrapping up here. Is there another one? Yours? I think the definition of the lipid panel, and then that's it. Okay, so I don't know how many of us are familiar with our cholesterol numbers, but I added this slide just so we can get a little taste of it. So total cholesterol here says 240 and higher is dangerous. The people at risk are the ones that cross 200, but your goal should be to stay as low as possible. So as low below 200 that you can get your total cholesterol, but it's the bad one that we really focus on because that's adding up to that total cholesterol. So the LDL, which is the next line. So the goal for that, if you have the general population, they say try to maintain 100 and less. And that's assuming you don't have any real risk factors for heart disease, diabetes, all of that. So you've got to start looking at your fat intake, the quality of fats. You should, if you're going to have fats, you should try to up your good fats. That's your things rich in omega fatty acids. I don't know whoever the fish eaters are, salmon, avocado, flaxseed oil, olive oil, all those things are all rich in omega fats. But it's very easy now to just Google up things rich in omega fats to increase in your diet. All right. Now, if you have 2 or more risk factors for heart disease, and just by being Indian, I got to tell you, is one an ethnicity, brown, is a risk factor because they have the smallest coronary arteries out of all the races, so they clog it up sooner, plus our diet. Okay, so being Indian, if you're a female approaching menopause and the minute that estrogen drops, you become the same risk as men for heart disease and heart attacks. So your cholesterol needs to get way under control by then. Men, their risk can start in their 40s in certain ethnicities like Pakistanis and Bangladeshis, red meat eating communities. The risk goes way up exponentially. They die of heart attacks in their 30s, early 30s. Okay, HDL, the goal is to keep your HDL, like I said, in general, keep in mind 50 and higher, but if you see here, they want 60 and higher. So really 60 and higher. That's your good cholesterol. All right, next slide. All right, so overall, this is same thing. The American Heart Association has redefined, and they're getting very strict now with cholesterol management. For the heart disease patients and people with real risk factors, they've lowered the LDL now to 55 and lower. So they're aiming for way lower numbers. So we got to really make some drastic changes if we want to get these kind of numbers on our annual checkups. Next. The other thing you should be asking for when you do your preventative screening every year is a lipoprotein A. That's a relatively new risk predictor now. It's independent of heart disease, blood pressure, cholesterol. When this thing goes up above 50, you have to know that you're especially at risk for heart disease, and it's a genetically inherited thing. So it goes with the cholesterol panel, but you have to make sure your doctor's ordering this for you. And as you see, African Americans are at the highest risk for having high lipoprotein A, and Southeast Asians, which is us. All right. Other races too qualify for this. Statin use, those are the statin cholesterol pills that we said anybody who's diagnosed with diabetes now automatically gets a cholesterol pill for all the reasons I explained before. And then you have to ask your heart doctor or your regular doctor to order something called a calcium scoring for you. It's a mini CAT scan on your heart that's going to tell you where there's hard plaque, old hard plaques already clogging up the vessels of the heart. It's not really going to pick up the new ones yet that are the new and soft, but these are the real risk. These are the ones that will break off and clog up the artery and cause you a heart attack and coronary artery disease. So you can get a score on this thing and they will risk stratify you and tell you what your 10-year risk is or 5-year risk based on your score. So without going for catheterization now, you can just get this thing done and know your risk. And you know where you, if it comes back high, you got to get on a cholesterol pill because that process is still happening and you need to intervene. All right, so I think that should be it. Right, so these are the key takeaways. So understand what insulin resistance mean, how it ties into diabetes, understand what central obesity means and how it ties into all of this. We want to understand how our diet plays a role and lack of activity, and we should try and incorporate these things. And the sooner you get on your medication to help you fix, if you fix these things, after a while, you don't necessarily have to have the medicines. If you've gotten things under control, the goal is not to keep you on medicines for the rest of your life, contrary to what a lot of people believe. They think all the doctors are drug pushers. Not the case. We're trying to help you achieve a goal which by itself is pretty hard to attain, but doable. So I wouldn't be so opposed to getting on the medications if I had to. And they will give you time. They will track you and you will have time to make the changes. And as things improve, you can start coming off of meds if that's not your approach. All right, I think that's it. All right, thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bahen, Dr. Savi, for that was very informative. It was very beneficial. But I just want to ask, can you answer two questions? We'll just take 5 minutes, and we'll have the fathers ask one and the mothers ask one. And then what we can do, if you have follow-up questions, I would ask you to write those questions down, and I'll take it to Dr. Savi, and we can have her answer those questions at a different time or a different platform. So we'll do two questions today, just in the interest of time. So we'll have the male do one question, and then we'll have the women do one question. So I see my.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Namaste. All right. It's not just about lowering that A1C, it's about lowering the insulin level. So if you fix your insulin resistance with weight loss, and the metformin will help you achieve 5 to 10 pound weight loss. So will those SGLT2s, the Jardians and the Steglatro and those. So if you can get a couple pounds off, even a 5-pound weight loss helps your insulin resistance. Every pound counts. So, and particularly central weight, okay? Yes, if you maintain your A1C just by diet and lifestyle change, you can come off of it. I'm not sure about the Ayurvedic approaches. I've had a lot of patients come back to us and try whatever it is they suggest, and the A1C is still elevated, so can't speak on, all that. 3 months. Oh, guidelines? We have not changed that in a long, long time. 5.7, pre-diabetes. 5.7 to 6.4. The minute you hit 6.5, that's diabetes. But like I said, and I showed everybody before, insulin resistance, that problem is way before that A1C even changes to 5.7. So you have to monitor your insulin level as well as your A1C. I would say the goal should be to keep it below 100 because we have enough data to say that inflammation starts the minute and even sooner than 100. So it's not to just get defined as 126 and higher for actual diabetes. You want to take action even before that. Okay, you're welcome. Somebody from the... Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a series of questions. So, Mataji, you have a question?
Yes.
And we'll take Mataji's question. And then I'm sure because the topic that she covered, it's very, whatever she gave, the information that Dr. Savi gave is very beneficial, as she said, especially for our community. So I would recommend that you write your questions down. She gave it to me, and we'll have a follow-up in some, whatever format, but we will. Mataji, what's your question?
Oh, I didn't. Sorry,
Just
I didn't
a
hear.
minute.
1 second.
Somebody's behind you.
Oh, go ahead, the auntie in yellow. Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead, Mataji. Okay, okay. Yes. Right. Yes, diastolic. Yes. So everybody has a different level of tolerance for low and what's defined as low. So you define that yourself. If you get lightheaded, dizzy once you hit 70s, then you got to stay away from the mid 70s, higher 70s, fine. But we don't really have a definition for too low. I mean, if you're going to go 50 and 60 and pass out on us, that's not the goal either. So you can keep your bottom numbers as well as your top number as low as you can tolerate. Okay. Hydration is key. If you tend to suffer low blood pressure, the opposite, then there's a whole different workup for that. Okay. You're welcome. Auntie here.
Bottom line is watch your diet. So the next thing that we're going to do, so I don't know if you noticed, but what we tried to do with the Mahila is not only incorporate things from the scriptures, but what's the point if we can't be healthy? So we do also incorporate in when it's the Mahila's turn to do the satsang, we incorporate different speakers so that we can educate our population. So what we're going to try to do next is see if we can connect with the dietitian so that we can help our community to really live that full, healthy life. Bahin Savi, Dr. Savi, I want to thank you on behalf of the executives and the general membership of Arya Spiritual Center for sharing your expertise. And this is a topic that is so close to our hearts. So thank you very much. And I know you put a lot of effort into creating the slides and everything. And one of the motivation behind asking you to do this is the reception we got when you did that, when we had the Navratri and you did that online presentation. And this was a topic that really piqued the interest of our population. So thank you again. And now we're going to stand for Aarti and ask Bhai Sohanji, Bhan Sushila, Pandit Neerajiv to lead us into Aarti and closing Pratna.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Jai Jagadish Hare भक्त जनों के संकट भक्त जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे मात पिता तुम मेरे शरण गहु किसकी स्वामी शरण गहु किसके तुम बिन और न दूजा तुम बिन और न दूजा आस करो जिसकी ओम जय जगदीश हरे तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा तुम अंतर्यामी स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर तुम सबके स्वामी ओम जय जगदीश हरे विषय विकार मिटाओ पाप हरो देवा स्वामी पाप हरो देवा श्रद्धा भक्ति बधावो श्रद्धा भक्ति बधावो संतन की सेवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे भक्त जनों के संकट भक्त जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे
अथ शांति पाठः ओम द्यौ शान्तिरन्तरिक्षं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवा शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेधि ओम शांति 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 अथ भोजन मंत्र ओम अन्नपते नस्य नो देह्यनमेवस्य शुष्मिनः प्रप्रदातारं तार्ष ऊर्जन्नो देहि द्विपदे चतुष्पदे ओम शांति 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 प्रेम से बोलो ओमकार भगवान की
जय
प्रेम से बोलो मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की
जय
प्रेम से बोलो योगेश्वर श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की
जय
प्रेम से बोलो जगत गुरु महर्षि स्वामी दयानंद की
जय
प्रेम से बोलो वेदा माता की
जय
प्रेम से बोलो वैदिक सत्य सनातन धर्म की
जय
वैदिक ध्वनि ओ वैदिक अभिवादन
नमस्ते
Test that.
Sorry, no, sorry, message Liam last night. You sent me this stuff. Yeah. We went to a function, and I said, listen, do it, but I know I'm coming, so. Right. Oh, right. Sorry, no, don't worry, listen, I told her, I'll come in, I mean, unless there's something, I will not come. Other than that, don't worry. Mandiraj, this is yours? Sorry. Okay.